Today on Merricks Garage, if you are in the market to buy your first, second, or third square body, I'm going to give you 5 things to check so you know what you're getting into before you pull the trigger on that next purchase. Let's go. Now, I understand that these trucks have been around for close to 50 years, so there is a wide variety of quality and condition. Today, I'm going to talk through some of the things I check for when I'm looking at purchasing something. Now, if they do not meet all these requirements, that's not a showstopper. It just helps me know what I'm dealing with before I get the truck back to my shop. It's very easy to do, very quick. You don't need a lift. I'm going to put it up on the lift so we can check underneath and I can show you guys what I'm looking for. But if you don't have access to a lift, I guarantee you have access to the good old floor. Get on your back, crawl underneath, and check out these trouble spots. What we have here is a 1986 Cuckfee military blazer that was owned by the Seabees. And I picked this up for $5,000. It does have a diesel title, which increases the value here in California. And I was willing to pay a premium for that. And stoked to say, this is an incredibly clean example of what you can find out there. Now, it does have some dings, it does have some damage, it does have some dents. Nothing that I'm all that concerned about. So let's take a quick walk around, and as I'm approaching the vehicle, these are the things I'm noticing. Are the body panels straight? Do we have clean angles? Do we have clean lines between the joints? This is a really quick and easy way to see, are you dealing with a truck that's been used and abused? Has it been bashed? Has it been possibly bent on the frame? Looking at this guy, I can quickly make an assessment that body lines look good, everything looks straight for the most part, and things are looking promising. I do have a little bit of damage on the front quarter, which isn't that much of a concern for me because these panels are relatively easy to come by and replacing them is not going to be that big of an issue. So before I jump into it, I have a rough idea of what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this panel here. That's kind of tight. That could be a cause for concern, but let's see how the door opens and closes. If it opens, well, it opens well, and if it shuts well, that is a great sign. Even better sign is the fact that these panel lines are really tight and nice and neat. If this was catching or binding, which I might expect it to, that could be indicative of a fairly significant hit to the front quarter that may have aligned the frame a little bit differently. But so far, so good. Let's go check the other side. This one may not be as good, but it doesn't look like there's been any damage here. Let's go ahead and open this one. Okay, you hear that? I'm getting a little bit right here. When I open this door, this panel could be a little crooked, the door could be a little crooked, there could be something underneath I'm not seeing, but it's a good idea to check this out. Doesn't really make a significant difference, and door does not quite close as well. Yeah, this door needs aligning, not a big deal. As you can see right here, we have a panel gap. That's what we need to do here. We need to realign this door. Other than that, I'm seeing a really clean, nice example. Let's move on to number 2. Opening the door and checking at the usual spots of trouble. I can see that there's some rust here, nothing significant. This isn't anything to concern me. What I'm looking for is, are there cracks? Is there any significant rust that's eaten through? And I'm not really seeing anything. This right here is a notorious trouble spot for these blazers. You'll see a lot of rust and buildup in there, generally as a result that the gutters and the drip trays have not been cleaned, allowing water to build up and it rusts down in there, and then it starts creeping through this rocker right here. I'm not seeing much there, but I am seeing some cracks. So this will need to be addressed. I do have some cracks in the floor. Once again, pretty normal. The rest of the bed looks really good. Looks like something heavy was dropped at the back because you can see a little bit of a dip in the floor, but this was a military truck. I'm sure it was used. So a quick glance inside lets me know what I'm looking at interior-wise. Now there will be vehicles, especially out east, that are going to be missing entire floors. I recognize that. I understand you guys are playing on a different ball field. But for those of us on the west, these are the kind of quality trucks that are available and out there. So if you're looking for something like this, do not despair. Keep looking. Check your auctions, check your Craigslist, check your Facebook. And with these tips, hopefully you can make an educated purchase. Let's move to the underside of the truck where some of the other problems can lurk. Area number 3 that we are going to check is the underside frame and underside of the body of the truck. And this is where you're going to start finding some of the more concerning areas. You can take a look, just a quick walk through lets me see that the frame is pretty clean, doesn't look like it's had anything significant. Then I'm going to peer up into these quarter panels. These are areas that often trap a lot of rust. Nothing much to report here. In fact, that is one of those drainage holes that I was speaking about that can fill up with leaves. It appears really empty. There's not significant rust here, or pretty much any rust at all. We'll blast over to the other side and check the same thing. Nothing concerning here. And then looking at the rockers, these can often be rusted through if there has been a significant water buildup or neglect. I am very happy with what I'm seeing at this point. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes where we can really get an idea of what may have happened to this truck before we looked at it. There's lots of markers along these frames that you'll see, lots of little windows. You'll see a recess right there. Those are often used by GM as frame alignment points. So when the frame is built or when it's repaired, those are markers that the mechanic, the body guy, can tell where the frame should be and can pull the frame straight. They'll never be perfectly aligned if this has been in an accident and re-straightened. So go in and start checking these areas. Start checking some of these holes. Are they ovalized? Are they buckled? I'm talking about that guy right there. Is there any weird warps to it? Is there any distortion? That can tell me a lot. Moving up on the frame, let's go dive underneath here. Once again, we're looking at the same thing. Now we do have a little bit of a bubble here. Maybe that's just a factory thing. Let's take a look at the other side. Nope, no bubble there, so maybe there was a frame rail hit or something that happened on this side. Let's take a look at the other ones. Well, this has the same marking. You can see it from the side there as I come in. A little bit of an ovalization. Eyeball the frame. This is going to give me an idea of where to start digging a little deeper. Am I seeing something that's concerning or doesn't look normal? Then I start digging and prying into it. Coming up here, same thing. Now, damage is going to be mostly evident the further towards the ends of the frame you get. If there was a significant rear end impact, you would notice it with a lot of these little spots right here. That ovalization right there, let's get tight on that. That would be possibly distorted. And that would give me a good idea to check this area, check to see if it matches on the other side. I'm not seeing anything crazy. Once again, is everything lined up? Is everything fairly straight and even? Now, you may not be able to tell minor accidents. Anything that didn't really involve the frame isn't going to show up in here, obviously. But if you have your concerns, this is a really good place to start. Start checking, start looking at these marks. Does anything look suspicious? So far, so good. Moving forward, one of the things to check on every truck is going to be the steering box. When we come up here, we can see that someone has already installed a steering plate bracket. Now, did they do that proactively or did they do that because of a crack? Not sure. Is it a good thing? Yeah, I would say that if there was a crack and someone repaired it, that shows a certain level of detail in the ownership of the previous owners. If it is cracked here, don't worry too much. ORD makes great frame reinforcement plates that you can throw up here. Pretty easy to do, and they can resolve a lot of the problems you have there. Once again, do I have buckling here in the cross member? Is there strange ovalizations in here. You can even come up and start checking in the core support area. Is the core support, let's try and get a light in there. Are any of these core support holes? It's really kind of, I'll bring it down, we'll check those again, but are any of these core support holes ovalized, which could show a hit from above or just tell a story of what this truck has been through? So, just to recap so far, we've taken a look at the overall truck, the body lines, the fitment, how straight things are. We've taken a look at the inside, we've taken a look at the floor, certain rust spots and notorious areas of trouble inside the truck. And now we've dove underneath and taken a look at the frame. You'll notice I haven't really focused much on anything mechanical. That's because most of these things are gonna get rebuilt. They're gonna have engines that are gonna get tuned up and hopped up. They're gonna have transmissions that are gonna be rebuilt because this is a 50-year-old truck, 40-year-old truck. It is highly likely that there is some sort of problem in this transmission or engine. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the bones of the vehicle. And so far, these bones look good. Let's bring this down and we can jump into area number 4. These are the core support holes that I was referring to. There's a big one down here. It's kind of tight to see, but you can check to see if there's ovalization or distortion on those, and that will give you a pretty good understanding if there's been any impact. This is looking remarkably straight. The panel alignment, like I mentioned earlier, is good. The hood closes and opens well. So I'm pretty confident that this thing has never really seen any significant impacts. Obviously, I've got that one in the front quarter, but like I mentioned before, not a big deal. But let's move into the engine and electrical. Like I said, I'm not too worried about the condition of this engine. What I am worried about is checking to see if there's been any hackery by previous owners. Is there electrical that's been held on by wire nuts and zip ties? Is there stuff that's hacked and cut away and done very, very shoddily? That is going to give me a good understanding of, what the skill level or care was taken by the previous owners. If I see a big bundle of wires held together with zip ties or rags stuffed where they shouldn't be to stop oil leaks, that gives me an idea that the previous owner may not have taken that much of a care of this. Now, while this wiring all looks pretty old and suspect, it doesn't look like it's particularly being hacked. It looks fairly OEM. Battery cables look decent. There's no wires just twisted together. Someone put in a regulator and it looks like it was done well with good crimps. You got some rubber gloves down there, so someone obviously tried to work on this and keep their hands clean. But yeah, this is a good area to check and see, is anything jumping out as just awful? Now, it's not uncommon to see a bunch of accessory wire and breakers if they've ran a stereo in there. I wouldn't worry too much about that. But let's dive under the dash, because that's another area where electrical can be a mess. And if we take a quick look under this dash, it is remarkably simple under here. Now, some of the modules are hanging down loose, but I do not see a lot of cuts and splices into this harness. I don't see any weird fuse breakers put in. I see that, yeah, stuff has grown old and fallen out, but nothing is being hacked. Someone pulled out a stereo or whatever was here at one point, but they didn't cut up the dash to do it, which shows me that there was some care and concern. Or, in the case of this truck, it just kind of sat there probably with the CBs for 20 years with no one doing anything to it. All good signs so far. I'm really happy with this purchase. Front to back, it looks good. Panels look good. Things look straight. No significant hackery. Rust isn't too heavy. Now let's get on to the final aspect of this build. Final things you should be checking before you write that check to the guy who currently owns it. Now, the final thing to check is a little bit more ambiguous. It's more of just a overall appearance thing. But if you are buying a used truck that has been owned by several people, it's a good idea to see if a lot of the body panels and components are missing. That may not be that big of a deal. Where you start to get concerned if this truck is built together from 15 different trucks, if I have different doors and different dash and different hood and different seats, that gives me an indication that this thing was a parts truck, and who knows what might be missing underneath. While we will be replacing a lot of the electrical and a lot of the engine and suspension and drivetrain, there's a lot of little switches, modules, connectors that you do want to keep because they're difficult to find, difficult to replace, and difficult to source. So if you see random things missing, if you see something that doesn't belong, that's obviously being dropped in its place, that can be a warning. Like I said, nothing to walk away from. We're just getting a big overall picture of what we're dealing with. So we're educated before we buy one. We know what our problems are going to be. We know what our challenges are going to be. And we know where we can possibly negotiate and bargain. Because remember, at the end of the day, all this information is to give you ammunition. So you can effectively bargain with the seller. Figure out a healthy price for you and a healthy price for him based on the condition. You're now educated. You understand what's missing. You know if there's damage. You know if stuff's hiding. All important in a good negotiation. Quick side note, I purchased this truck to be a test bed for a bunch of new products that I have coming out. If you are not aware of what I do, go check out merricksgarage.com. If this is a project of yours that seems too overwhelming, send it to me. I'm happy to take your truck and turn it into the truck of your dreams. We have 3 or more in the shop, usually at all times. Here's another cuck feed that we're just dropping a 2.8 liter Cummins engine in. This guy, we 4-linked, it's got a big block, whole new armoring, whole new electrical, and whole new interior. I'm giving you a sneak peek of one of my newest products that I'm working on. This is going to be a rear bumper for this guy. I currently offer seat brackets that will bolt right into this floor, front and rear, and a roll cage that will bolt into this floor and give you a rear family cage. I offer light racks that can mount up here with no significant challenges, and I offer a power seat activator. Let me show you what one of those looks like over on my bench here. This is a little module board that I designed to replicate a CAN bus signal. What's a CAN bus signal? Great question. It is the signal that new modern seats require to operate. A vehicle like this does not have CAN bus, so all I do is replicate that signal so the power seats that you install will now function and work. Anyway, let's get back to the scheduled content, wrap this thing up, and get you guys back to working on your builds. Well, this gives you a good idea of what to look for so you are more educated when you are purchasing a truck. I have some other videos that tell what to do when you've purchased your truck. Suspension upgrades, steering upgrades, electrical upgrades that you can perform in your driveway. I'm going to link these videos up here. Go check them out. I think they'll be helpful. I appreciate you watching. I'd love it if you give me a like and subscribe and comment down below about any tips and tricks you guys have when you're picking up your project truck. We'll catch you later. Merricks Garage.